Okay, so I got something that is kind of working, and when I when I saw it working, it was like way cooler than I thought it was gonna be. So it's not crazy, and there's a lot of things that I need to refine and everything. But you put your item in the crafting window, and then you can choose what you want to put on it. You can change the value, which is going to toggle the cost. Your item has a potential, a max potential here. So I got to play around with all these values, but essentially it's going to be, you can decide if you want from the min to the max, and that's going to cost you. Um, you can only really put one maximum value on there, something like that. Something like that's gonna get implemented. But for now, this is like minimal viable product or whatever. So I can add the stat. Um, I think I added like a big one there, but so +2 dexterity. You can see it's updating on the item itself. I can take that item off, and if I wear it, my dexterity goes up. So that's all working. I cannot do dexterity again, so I have to do a different one. So we'll do intelligence, and the rolls here, the minimum and maximum, is based on the item level. My item level here is 4, so you can see in the top left of the tooltip, level 4 fishing pole. And if I don't have enough potential, then I cannot craft. But now this item has dexterity, intelligence, and strength, and I gain all of those. I got 3 strength on that one. So do I have a higher level item? Yeah. So 7. I have these items spawning in. There we go. There's a level 9. You can see now I have a higher roll. So the scaling is not. I gotta mess with that, but you could see costs 136, and also the potential goes up. The potential is just going up 100 per item level, right? So 9 and 900. So I can go ahead and craft, and I only have 4 affixes right now that I can craft because I just wanted to get something started. But I am doing this in a way, and I'll show you here in a sec, to allow me to. Each item is going to have access to a certain list of possible affixes that you can craft. So your fishing rod will have cast power, like a local cast power as well, and your gloves won't have local cast power. So again, this is it's structured. It's going to be structured similarly to the way Path of Exile does their itemization. Local variables, global variables. I do want to have implicit modifiers and all that, but the items are going to be structured similarly to Path of Exile, to the best of my ability with what I know how to do and what I decide on. So, item level, right? There is an item level associated with this that corresponds with the roll of stats that you can have, but I don't think I want to do tiers, but I might. But for now, this is just something, right? This is just something to put on there. But I can go through and craft all these items. That one's already crafted, no potential. So this one, let's do a max roll. So boom, I get 3, and then that's all I can do. What about this hat? Let me do 2, and these values obviously they'll be played with. I could do tiers or something, but let's do just a 2. So I got 2 strength there, and I can't do 2 dex, so I'll do 1 dex. It's 1 to 3, right? That's the roll, and then you're just choosing the minimum. I'll say that you're just choosing the minimum there. So you can't go below 2 here, so it's going to be between 2 and 3, right? And then this is, you can't go below 1, so it's going to be between 1 and 3. We got lucky, and then so that's essentially how it's working right now. No save and load yet, and the tooltips still go off the screen. I'm pretty sure I can fix that pretty easily, but Anyway, I want to have you right. So on these level 9 gloves, you have more potential. So you can re-roll. You can re-roll the strength, and you can you can try for a higher roll, and it will always. I think what I'll do is I'll set it. You can't go back down if you're investing in, if you're spending potential to do it. You can't get a lower value. So right now it's 1. So there'll be a cost associated with rolling from, and the minimum value will be 1, from 1 to your maximum value. So you'll re-roll, and then say you get 2. Well, your new minimum is going to be 2, and that cost will. I'll do something with that. That's the next step. But I was just like I didn't like. It was just really cool to throw an item in here and add stats to it, and then I can take that item and put it on my character, and I'm getting those stats. Like, so now all I have to do here, and I'll show you what I'm doing there. Now all I have to do is, this is my craftable affix list. I don't know why all these properties get, but these are where I define. I'm going to define in this list all possible affixes, and then on each affix. So this is a little tedious, and if anybody has a better suggestion, let me know, because this is definitely tedious, and I'm really worried about this getting reset somehow, and then having to do it all again. Like, that would be awful. But so flat strength, right? That's the tag. Allowed items all. So all items, and I can change this to whatever, but this is just a list, right? So flat strength, and then if I want to add one, like let's say I'll do local local percent increase cast power. I mean that should work anyway, but so that's going to be cast power increased is additive, and it's going to be local, and instead of all items that's going to be on fishing pole. And then what I can do is I can go up here. I had some context menus, and I'm going to reset, and you should see this go to 5. It did. That went to 5. So now if I play and I get a fishing pole, I should see that option over here. I didn't define any min or max values though, so that's not gonna work. It might give me an error here, but so 0 to 0 increase cast power. Yeah, so cost negative $1 million or whatever. 2147. Yeah. So but it did. That's all I have to do if I want to add stats to item. I just add it to this, and then I context menu update the rest of them. And then I'll need one of these lists, and I can go into that script here and show you. So again, this was like, I really spent a lot of time trying to figure out the easiest way for me to handle and manage affixes and add them and modify them and everything. And the reason I went with this is because over here I can define a min and max value for it, and that's going to be the maximum possible roll that you can get when you're crafting the item. And then it's just going to scale with your item level, and crafting level is always -3 of the item level, because I want you to be able to, like, occasionally you're going to find like a fishing rod or a hat while you're fishing, and that has potential to roll with stats on it, and then those stats can roll up to the item level value itself, or maybe higher or whatever, but I can define that differently. But when you're crafting, it's never going to be the max possible value that you can get. You can find items naturally that are going to have a higher value, but what I'm thinking is I won't have items be able to. Right now you can have 6 affixes total. I can only do 4 because that's all I have implemented, but you can do 6 affixes total, and then when you find an item from fishing, maybe it's only gonna spawn with like 1 or 2 affixes, but they can roll the max, and then it's gonna have the same potential. So then you can go and finish crafting that one up, assuming you got the right affixes that you want or whatever. And then I can do different things in here, like, I could do a replace or whatever. I should be able to. It would be the same thing, I guess. I guess I could have it drop down the same way. But, so that's kind of how I'm handling affixes. So I'll define an affix over here. I'll set a min and a maximum value. I define the type, the increase type, the global. I give it a tag, and I define the items that it can go on. So this is, I'm not super happy with doing it this way, but again, this was the best way that I come up with. So my context menus over here, what they're doing, and I can just, I'll leave that, but so I'm defining a list, right, for each item that can have modifiers on it. Each item is going to be a list, and then I set that in the inspector here with the context menu. So for each affix in all craftable affixes, and that's your top one here. Put a little extra space there. And if it can go to all, go ahead and just add it to all. And if it can't go to all, then you need to check for each item type in allowed items, which all affixes now, all affix modifiers now have allowed items list on them. I'll show you that in a sec. But so for each item type in the allowed items, then switch item type, and that's just an item that I have defined in another script. Over here in item data, item type. So the switch case, you can auto-populate it, and then you just need to, add to the respective list. Pants affixes add, and then that's just your list up there. So I can, the context menu that I have, I can just, I clear all the items and then I reset them again. I update them. So any changes I make or whatever, I just have to click that. I was doing on validate, but I like clicking better. And then at my add to all, again, this is something that is, I think it's going to save me time, right? If I have affixes set to go to all, and there's not going to be a lot of those, but this is what I have to do, or this is how I ended up doing it. So then my attribute modifier script, I changed that up a bit. I decided to actually implement a struct here. So properties, and I did that to make this a little smoother. So now, when I can actually collapse these, whereas before it was just like this whole block was flat strength, and like that's, and then this whole block, and I think this is a little easier to look at, and for me to look over and scroll through here. So that's why I did the struct. So then your struct has your min value, max value, and then the actual value. Maybe I should rename that current value or something. But it also contains all your types and everything as well. And then since these are private, for me to get access to them, I needed a getter. And then that way I cannot change them from other scripts. And then it also contains the list. I also needed to, some of this was a little bit lazy here, craft as string. So I added another string builder, value as string, so that's going to display, that's what displays on the tooltip, and this would displayed as a craft because I needed to include your min and max value, the 1 to 3 or whatever. So then order is used when I do the final calculations for the end value. It's up here. No. Maybe order's not used. Yeah, I guess so. My calculations may not be working correct then. Because my order should be... Maybe not. What was I doing over there? A and B, if A.order... That might not be working right. I don't know. That was the other guy's implementation, so I don't fully understand it. Crizorel or whatever. So anyway, and then you have your source, which this might not be what it's supposed to be or anything. And then I created a new constructor here that takes in an attribute modifier and a new value, and I'm using that over here in my add affix. So add affix script is what's handling the craftable window add button logic and all that. So obviously I have definitions for all my variables and UI elements and stuff. And then I have min value, max value, selected value. So on setup, I set a crafting item. I go ahead and I have a local list here of all affixes, and I set that to the items allowed affixes, which is where was that? So on here, allowed affixes, and set allowed affixes here, craftable affixes. Anyway, I did this last night when I was very tired. Anyway, I set that, and that is working correctly. I can't really explain it right now, I guess. But, so the item has allowed affixes, and I set the local one to that. That way I can compare a couple different lists here. Craftable affixes, this again is a new list, which I'm setting as new twice, so I guess I don't need to do that. So on setup, and setup gets run, you know, whenever I need to run it. It's just public void setup, so I can call that whenever. Allowed crafts.text equals new list of strings. So this is where I populate the drop-down list text items. But first I clear the list, and then this variable is used to check and see if an item already has an affix, because then you can't craft two affixes that are the same. So if the item has affixes, aka if .count is greater than 0, for each item affix in the list, in the affixes that it has, I'm checking against all of those, right? So allowed modifier, which is up here, if the tag equals that tag, then I cannot add, and I break, and that gets out of this little loop, and then it moves on to here. And if I can add, right, if it's not false, then I go ahead and I calculate the values, which is just a method down here, calculate blah blah blah. Make that a little cleaner real quick. I calculate those values, and then I add that to the string list, and then I add it also to craftable affix list. So this is a list of affixes that I can actually put on the item as the item is right now. So then I add options, and I add the string list, and I go ahead and run some other methods here, which a lot of this needs to be cleaned up. Like I literally just finished. But on selected craft, change index value, calculate min, yeah, all affixes index. So this is just when I change the drop-down value, when I change the slider value, and then to set the slider values as things change in different instances where they change. I calculate the cost in potential. I already have variables assigned here, that's so I can just do. I don't have to pass anything in, and then I'm setting the button to interactable or not based on if I have enough potential to interact with it. And I think that's the bulk of what's going on there. The container contains the refill and the add and has some logic as well, setup, update visual, etc., etc. A lot of this needs to be encapsulated and cleaned up within different elements, or even combined, because right now I have a crafting window, an affix container which contains reroll and add, and then those each have their own logic which handles their button logic and stuff too. So I might leave it, but definitely a lot of it needs to be cleaned up. I'm firing off a couple events to update certain visuals, and if I can't add the affix, then that I just don't like that. I have events over here, and then they'll update the visual, and it's the same event, so it updates the visual, and then the same event updates the visual over here, which then goes ahead and fires off the setup of the crafting item in the add affix. So I don't know if I like that or not, but that's how it is. But I think that's it. There's a lot of issues I know I'm going to run into, specifically with floats and ints. Specifically right now, I have it set to do whole numbers, but I'm not sure if I want to do that. I could do, but there's a lot of stuff to play around with. But I'm pretty happy with this implementation where it is right now. It's working. I'm actually putting stats on gear. They keep their stats. It should be new stats too. They shouldn't be sharing. Let me just check that really quick. Alright, 2 shirts. Throw that up there. Add. Strength, dex, intelligence. Nothing here. Throw that on. Add. Strength, dex, intelligence. Yep. Okay, so 2 different shirts. Yep. Cool. Yeah. Okay, so yeah. I guess that'll be it. I want to work on a reroll, and after that maybe some skill system. But this is an implementation here that I can tweak and play around with, and basically has the foundations of what I want the final product to look like. So pretty happy. Okay, bye.